Oh,
Dab
yeah.
me up, bro. Dab me up. Yeah, we're the guys. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Bars and Bells podcast. Episode 68, Halloween. You're starting to freak me out already, and we've been here for 2 seconds.
Shit. Good.
Can you even see me right now?
I can see you with my left, not my right.
I can I can see you reasonably well. I can see the camera over there.
Yeah,
Hello,
I cannot
everybody.
see the camera. So
Happy Halloween. I know this is a day after Halloween, but it's
happy
alright.
Halloween, though.
Can you breathe in that at all?
Can you breathe in that?
I mean, reasonably well. I feel like I'm extra loud because the sound is in my helmet.
I can't breathe in this at all.
I mean, I just need a knife at this point, a big old kitchen knife.
Oh, heck yeah.
And
Why did you get it?
I'd be set. I should have got one.
Should have learned piano and started playing his theme song.
Yeah, just how does it go?
It's like, well, I don't know actually. I'm not a musician.
You're not very good at this.
You're not. Hey, shut up.
All right, do you want to take these off?
Maybe.
Yeah. we're not gonna be able to record much with these on. Oh my gosh, that thing is freaky looking.
That is.
All right, let me get my attire.
Oh, microphone was crooked. Now we're back.
Yeah, now you guys should be able to actually hear us. I don't know how that sounds, but I feel bad. Oh, that would have been perfect. Starting the podcast,
Dang.
spooky. Like, woo.
I'll be.
Yeah, we got
I'll
a
be
little
a couple.
couple's outfit. Got my socks on. I'm a little Bugs Bunny.
What are you doing?
So they can see my jersey. Bugs, dude.
I thought I was dropping it down.
No, I wasn't dropping it for the camera. Not today. Maybe another time. Maybe Friday.
Live stream.
Yeah, right. All right. We'll go ahead and start this week off. It's going to be interesting. We're going to do some spooky stories. This will mainly be a podcast about Halloween and a Halloween themed episode. But I will let you guys know, just as a reminder, we hit our goal. We're actually at 108 subscribers now. The shorts have been going great. I appreciate your guys' support. Keep watching them. Keep liking them. Send them to your friends. But this Friday, that's in 2 days, 6:30, we will be doing a live stream. It will be scheduled on the YouTube probably tomorrow, so you guys will probably see in advance. Please come out and watch at all. I will very much appreciate it. Even if you stop in for 5 minutes, we're going to have a bunch of special guests on. There's going to be like 5 or 6 of us in here.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a great time.
It's going to be a mess, but it'll be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, let's kind of get into it.
I'm actually looking for the remote right now.
Oh, I have it.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Bum. All right, guys. We are back. I'm not doing skits like last year. I'm not doing a Post Malone and MGK Halloween skit.
What happened to those?
I don't know. They might be possibly in this closet or even my own. I'm not 100% sure. They are somewhere. Also, I got a mic stand, at least for the time being. Maybe not Friday.
You might
but
have stole that.
Yeah, I should have. Why did I not buy a third one? I guess I thought like maybe a standing one would be better.
You would think.
But honestly, I think this works for me because this
yours
means
fixed.
I can move it as need be. I'm gonna get another one. We need a third.
You're just not gonna fix this.
What, that?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I was either gonna do this or get like a freestanding mic stand that stands to my left. But yeah, so most of this episode we're gonna read some spooky true stories, Halloween episode, kind of like we did last year, do some like creepypasta sort of situations. So I hope you guys enjoy, and I'm gonna get the mood lighting set.
Ooh.
A little more. It's not even that dark.
Actually, no, that's probably. Oh, that's brighter.
Wait. I don't know what I'm doing.
That's perfect. Whoa.
I'm making it warmer, so it's like.
Whoa.
I'm trying to watch it on the camera.
Spooky.
Yeah, I feel like that.
That's perfect.
Oh, there we go.
Oh.
You can actually see us better than I would have thought. So that's actually, we can do that. That works. Kind of put a little mood lighting in here.
Set the mood.
All right, so are you starting us off?
Do you want me to start us off?
Yes, we got one already saved for last. It's a good story. It's a true story, apparently based on Indiana that he found. So he is going to go ahead and read it.
The one, that big one.
Yes.
Or... Oh, okay.
Well, we're not going to read that yet. That's later. We'll
okay, just like the
we'll
small ones that I found.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you want me to start. It's up to you,
It does
sir.
not matter. I just found this. Hopefully it's good. It's called The Puppy in the Basement.
Okay. The puppy in the basement. Do we want to shout out the person because we got it off of Reddit?
It just says it's on Reddit.
Oh, okay.
Because I found it on Google, so they don't really say the name.
Okay, cool. I'll just
so
listen.
I think this is a little kid.
Okay. Yep.
Because it starts off with, "Mommy told me to never go to the basement, but I wanted to see what was making that noise. It kind of sounded like a puppy, and I wanted to see the puppy. So I opened the basement's door and tiptoed down a bit. I didn't see a puppy, and then Mommy yanked me out of the basement and yelled at me. Mommy had never yelled at me before, and it made me kind of sad, and I cried. Then Mommy told me never to go to the basement again, and she gave me a cookie, because that makes it all better, right?
Yeah.
That made me feel so much better.
Okay.
So I didn't ask her why the boy in the basement was making noises like a puppy, or why he had no hands or feet."
What? I'm concerned. I mean, I feel like I've heard I'll be honest, I feel like I've heard that story before. Maybe not the whole thing, but I've heard part of that before. Something very similar,
Right.
at least. But that
I feel like that's all kinds of horror movies.
That one.
Do not go in the basement.
Yeah, do not go to the basement.
And then you see something in the basement.
Yeah, I gotta do one of mine.
Okay.
I don't even know what I got, so
You have to go.
they're a surprise to me. They're a surprise to him. They're a surprise to you guys as well. By the way, you got my name in here wrong.
I
It's
know. I
1T.
never fixed it.
I'm gonna fix it right now because it is a disgrace. I am a 1T Brett.
I know. Okay, I put in your name in
I don't associate.
like 4 years ago, and no, it like got on me, and I just have never fixed it. I'm just
It's fixed now.
okay.
I'm the best. Oh
Brett the best,
no, cancel.
best the Brett.
I am the best Brett. No, I'm not. Okay, let's see what we got here.
Yes.
So shout out to u/trick-waltz9684 off of Reddit. I still wonder to this day what would have happened if my friend opened the door. You ready for this?
Okay.
This happened a few years ago. Oh, sorry. A few years back. If I remember correctly, it was around 2018 or 19.
Oh, okay.
I was at my
True story?
friend's cousin's house. For the sake of me remembering who I'm talking about without mentioning their real names, I'm just going to call them friend 1 through 3. My friend's cousin and him, and also one other. I think this happened in November or December. We were all at the crib watching horror movies and eating snacks. Nobody was home except for us and my friend's cousin's little brother, who was 9 or 10 at the time. I want to point out that I am 16 now, so I was between the ages of 11 and 12, and so was the rest of us. Anyhow, we were watching the Nun movie, and having a great time. I mean, I was scared out of my mind, but the others were not. I was also the smallest of the group, which didn't help either, considering that I was already scared the fuck out, and my friends were pressuring me to watch the movie and stop holding my hands over my face. It was late, probably 9 to 11 p.m. That's nine's not that late. We were around halfway through the film when friend 1 saw an automatic motion sensor light go on in front of the garage. We looked out the window, but didn't see anything out of the ordinary. So we presumed a deer or something had activated the lights. So we continued watching the movie.
Front door?
In front of the garage.
Okay.
A few minutes later, we heard a knock on the door. Friend number 2, just about to open it before my friend's cousin shouted, "Don't open the door!" Everybody fell silent, and the cousin said that his parents were not coming home before 2 a.m. We just looked at each other wondering, who could it possibly be? We looked out the window and saw an old-looking guy, probably in his late 50s, early 60s, with a hammer in his hand. We quickly turned off the TV and ran downstairs. We told his little brother to hop off his terrible typing. Hop off his game and follow us. We ran to the laundry room and barricaded us inside. He called his parents and told them about what we had just witnessed. Right after that, we called the police. We sat in the laundry room for a good 5 minutes in silence before we heard a window shatter. It was on the upper floor bedroom window. He searched the upper floor in a few minutes until he started to come downstairs. It wasn't long until he tried to open the laundry room door, but he couldn't get inside thanks to the barricade. He was screaming and yelling at us to open it or he would kill us. But as soon as he started trying to get into the laundry room, we heard sirens coming from outside. He quickly stopped and started to run out of the house and broke the terrace window and ran. Police saw him running and started to pursue him. He was quickly caught and arrested in the woods outside this house. Later, my friend's cousin texted me and told me that he didn't only have a hammer with him, but a medium-sized flip knife and a loaded Glock. The police also found a bag of fentanyl on him. I didn't know how much fentanyl it was, but one thing was for sure, it was a whole lot. It had been a long time, but I still wonder what would have happened if my friend opened the door.
That's crazy.
And by the looks of it, that sounds like a pretty real story.
That's
Definitely
I think that's pretty real.
Very creepy. I don't know how I would react in a situation like that as a kid.
Oh, after watching some horror movie?
Yeah, which just makes it 10 times worse because you're already
You're just
in
always
an adrenaline spike.
Yeah.
And I mean, the oldest one might have been 12, possibly 13 at the max.
Dang.
And that's
very smart, getting in the laundromat.
Yeah, just getting in the laundry room and barricading the door. Good move on them.
That's crazy. That guy had a hammer though and broke into the house.
Well, he's probably high as hell.
I know,
Tripping.
but dang.
Yeah, that's nuts. Because a bag of fentanyl is a lot. You can die by like that much.
If any of you get a knock on the door at night, make sure to check before you.
Especially around Halloween.
Yes.
When you're watching scary movies, check outside. It's always a good idea to just don't open your door, especially as a child. Don't just open doors.
Do not.
If you're listening to this and you're a kid, keep your door closed.
Yes.
All right. You want to go for another one? Okay. I'll just keep whispering into the mic. Okay. We'll make this ASMR. Oh, we're going to get so many views.
Well, I have to find mine now.
Do you think they would like this? Ready for this?
What?
Okay, just be quiet. Ready?
Okay, got you. Okay.
I don't even know if they could have heard that, honestly. I'm sorry.
That one's kind of long, so I'm going to go for this one.
Okay.
It's cod.
It's cod?
It's called
Oh.
The Chair. Dun, dun, dun.
Okay. The chair.
Okay. See, this one actually says their names, so. Oh, wait, shoot. This one's actually kind of long, too. Well, whatever.
I mean, mine wasn't short. Read it.
Okay. When my sister Betsy and I were kids, our family lived for a while in a charming old farmhouse. We loved exploring its dusty corners and climbing the apple tree in the backyard. But our favorite thing was the ghost. We called her Mother because she seemed so kind and nurturing. Some mornings, Betsy and I would wake up, and on each of our nightstands would find a cup that hadn't been there the night before. Mother had left them there, worried that
like
we'd get thirsty
Santa
during
Claus.
the night.
It's like a reverse Santa.
Yes.
That's weird.
She just wanted to take care of us. Among the home's original furnishing was an antique wooden chair, which we kept against the back wall of the living room. Whenever we were preoccupied watching TV or watching a game, Mother would inch the chair forward across the room towards us. Sometimes she'd manage to move it all the way to the center of the room. We always felt sad putting it back into the wall. Mother just wanted to be near us. Years later, long after we moved out, I found an old newspaper article about the farmhouse original occupant, a widow. She murdered her 2 children by giving them each a cup of poisoned milk before bed. Then she hung herself. The article included a photo of the farmhouse's living room with a woman's body hanging from the beam. Beneath her, knocked over, was an old wooden chair.
Dang. That's kind of cool. Well, that's a good one.
Wow. Interesting.
That's yeah. Do you believe in ghosts? I mean, before we get to the next story, I guess we can. This is kind of on topic.
See,
Do you believe in ghosts?
I keep going up and down because I don't really want to believe it, but
Yeah.
there's just so much.
There's in certain places there's shit that's hard to explain.
Exactly. I've seen videos and stuff, and yes,
Sometimes
they could be
it's-
fake.
Yeah, some definitely are, but some
I've
things are.
seen some videos that you just how would they even
Mm-hmm.
create this? This makes no sense.
Yeah, I think there's something to it where it's it's hard to believe. I don't know if I necessarily believe in ghosts per se. I don't think. I mean, there are some paranormal things that are weird, but I think in certain instances, I don't know if it's necessarily a spirit, but you know how there's just some places you walk into these areas. I'll be honest, I've never totally been to any of them, but you just get a sense, a feeling, and I think there is something to almost places, objects, people, or not people, but places and objects that can almost hold memories in a way.
Yes.
And negative emotions. I think it's memories, it's
including
emotions.
Old.
I've never been to Gettysburg
Mm-hmm.
or old battlefield, Civil War
Right.
battlefields, but my cousin's been there and he went as a kid and he's there's something about it that it's just unsettling. You can tell that this place has seen so much pain and anguish, and it's how many thousands of men died on this field in one
Right.
day, or certain places in England. It's it's one of not most haunted countries in the world. That's not what I was about to say, but there's certain towns where there's literally buildings built with people's bones in the mortar, and you can go there and they've been there for 700 years,
Mm-hmm.
and it's there's something about it. Or even Louisiana or Charleston, some of the most haunted cities in America,
Right.
because it was so violent between slavery and everything that happened down there. There's something to that. So I don't totally know. I don't necessarily think a spirit's gonna show up and be get that water off my desk or some shit. But
See, when I was younger, there was actually the owners of the property that our house is at. They had an old house that we tore down and all that.
oh, I guess
but
I never know that.
It was it was weird. It was a brother and a sister that lived there, and both of them never got married, but they died on that property. And I always just had the fear that it was a ghost. Whenever I was walking in the woods by myself, and I heard a branch fall or something.
Yeah, I think that's
scared.
most kids in the
Yeah.
woods naturally, because I feel I did the same thing, even though in certain instances it was definitely not called for. But I was oh, it's spooky, it's dark, I'm in the woods,
I want to die.
yeah. But in all reality, it's no, it's not spooky. It's called, in certain places, you gotta watch out for bears. That's how you might die. That's not a ghost. It's
Yeah.
But no, I think there is something to places or old mental institutions where it's where you find out oh, these people were tortured in these places or people were killed. There's something about those
people
kind of
exploring
places.
abandoned
Oh yeah, I find that fascinating. I would love to do something
do too.
like that
I watch
eventually.
those videos all the time.
I don't always watch them, but I have. I'd love to visit some places
Mhm.
because I do find it interesting. There is something kind of fascinating about it, or old war
Right.
grounds or old
was,
forts, that
right.
kind of there's something
even
to that.
old churches going to. So
Oh yeah, some
me
of the
and-
especially in Europe, old
So
churches.
there's actually this. It was a 1970-ish old church in the middle of Anderson.
Okay.
But
And-
me and my buddies, we went there.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't know if there was actually people in there. Well, we heard footsteps,
Ooh.
but it was dude, this church was huge. You wouldn't think it was this big, but there was 4 levels. There was a
Okay.
basement, there's a first floor, there's a second floor, and that was where all the seated were, and that's where the stage were, and the podium,
Yeah.
and all that. And then there's like another upper layer that can overlook all that.
Yeah.
It was huge, and we actually finally got to the very top, and we saw like just a rock got thrown or something. That's when we just kind of bolted and got out of there.
Yeah.
And we didn't know it was just like a rat or something just kicking it, or stuff like that. It's just like just seeing just empty benches that's cracked and broken, and just hearing stuff, dude. It puts you over the edge.
Yeah,
it
no,
really does.
no, yeah, it makes you tense. It definitely set and setting for those things. I'll be honest, I don't think, as far as I can remember and recall, I don't think I've actually ever had any like paranormal experiences.
Yeah, I really.
I
don't
might have
think
possibly seen a UFO recently, but I don't know. I mean,
maybe.
There is a chance. I mean, it's a very, what I saw was definitely very like, unknown. But it,
Right.
I mean, this actually happened like last week, and we never talked about it. I was just happened to be going to work, and I look over, and it's really overcast. It was one of those really crappy days, and I just see this like two bright lights, like going south, like they're southwest of me, and I'm just driving to work, and I was like, what are those? Like I was like, it can't be a star. Like you can't see anything right now. The clouds are way too thick. And I looked, and I was kind of watching it.
It was
and
in
at
the
one
sky?
point, yeah. And then so like it means that it was below the clouds, which were already kind of hanging low, so it
it's
wasn't
not a
super.
satellite.
Yeah, it wasn't super high. One, I realized, oh, that's a plane. Whatever. I'm driving, but I was like, this one, I was like, it's so bright. There's no stars in that direction, let alone I couldn't see it if there was, and it didn't look like it was moving. Like, and I mean, I couldn't tell you how far it was, but so it's like it could have been moving, and I just didn't see it. Could have been maybe
like
a helicopter.
Yeah.
But so I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like try to keep an eye on it as I'm driving and just kind of watch it, so it just doesn't like, in case it just disappears. And then guess what it fucking did? It disappeared. I literally am driving, and I like glance, paying attention to the road, and I come back to it, and it's just gone, nothing. And I was like, what the fuck was that? Like literally on my way to work, and I'm like, that's weird. Like I mean, I'm not saying it was like, I'm never gonna say that was 100% like a UFO or some shit, but it's just like, star doesn't make sense. Could it have been something else? Yes, but like it literally disappeared very quickly. Where I was like, bright light, don't know what it is, and then a couple seconds later, gone. It's like if it was a helicopter, if it was something else, unless the helicopter had a light on it and it turned around,
Right.
maybe. But I didn't see anything in the sky.
That's right.
Yeah, it's kind of that's the only experience and something like that I've ever had. Like I've never seen Bigfoot. I've never, whatever.
Yeah, I can't really think of anything.
No, I can't either. I mean, like, speaking of horror movies, have you seen, I haven't watched it yet, but have you seen Talk to Me? Made by the Rakaraka brothers.
Mm-mm.
It's a new horror movie that's kind of blown up. And it's basically, the concept of it is almost you get high off of possession.
Ooh.
And so you got to like grab this hand, and you only want to hold on to it for so long, and basically you get possessed when you grab this like cursed hand. And so the people that made it actually started on YouTube. Friends with the Sidemen, Friends with Logan, like all these things. Like, I don't know if you heard of Rakaraka. They're Australian based. They used to do like ridiculous like stunts and videos that definitely most of the time weren't monetized because they would make it gory as shit, make it outrageous. And
I
like,
haven't heard it.
and so they've been doing that, but they've always wanted to make films. They were actually just on Joe Rogan as well this week, which is really cool. And they wrote this movie, and it ended up getting picked up eventually by what is it? I almost said A1. That is not what it is.
So it's actually a professional movie.
Yeah,
and
it got picked up by what is that studio? Dang it. A reasonably large studio, but still like a reasonably niche one still. But they still have some very large movies that have come out, and it took them a while. They had to go to the film festival. They did all this stuff, and then eventually got picked up. And
that's kind of cool.
And it did amazing. I don't know what its budget was, but it's done. I think at this
Have
point.
Have you seen
like,
the trailer for it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah, it looks. It's definitely a very unique story for a possession like ghost movie, and it looks creepy as shit too. But I think it's grossed like $90+ million. Like it's done very well, and they've never made a movie before, and they were able to come up with a story.
That's really good for them. Wow.
Yeah, A24. That's
A24.
the studio. But yeah, no, like they've done some stuff, and it's like that. That's a creepy movie.
That's kind of cool.
I don't know what scares me more. Like I think it is for me. I think it's like psychological / paranormal stuff that creeps me out more. Like I can almost deal with like. I could deal with Michael Myers. I could deal with like, Jason. It's like, oh, they're just gonna stab me. Whatever. Like I can deal with that.
See, that's
like for the most part.
Dude, just imagining like Michael Myers coming at you with a knife.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not creepy.
Dude, that would be creepy. But let alone like freaking Jason coming at you, too.
Yeah. I mean, but it's like the one horror movie as a kid that really got me initially was Nightmare on Elm Street. That, and Bailey watched that young. That fucked her up a little bit.
So you know actually what got me, and this is, how old was I had to be like at least 10 or something.
Yeah.
Fairly young.
Mm-hmm.
But we watched Ghostbusters.
What? And that got you?
Well, you know how I grew up. My mom hates horror movies. Like, she never lets us watch it.
Yeah.
So, like, when we watched that, dude, I didn't sleep. I literally did not sleep.
So okay, I guess speaking of Ghostbusters, the first one,
I like the first one.
I love it. Like, it's honestly probably one. Like, I wouldn't say I have a favorite movie, but if I said one of my favorite movies, I think honestly the original Ghostbusters is there. It's a movie.
Have you seen the new Ghostbusters?
I have, and it's actually pretty good.
Yes, I actually like them.
It's actually, it's not bad.
I like it.
But the second one scared me, and I think it was because the tone of the movie throughout was creepier. It also involved a baby and a baby getting kidnapped, and I watched it reasonably young.
There was something in the bathtub too.
Yeah, like there was.
That's what got me.
It was a lot more creepy for some reason. That one put me off more than the first one did for sure. But
that's I remember that because the first one was like, oh, this is not that bad,
and it's fun.
Second
it's
one,
hilarious. You watch it back now. Oh,
then,
I love it.
We watched the third one.
And the newest one.
I know there's only two. That's right.
Yeah, there's only two. Then there's the female version.
Yep.
I
did not watch the female.
I think I watched part of it. And I was like, nah. Where's Bill Murray? I need him back.
Right.
Yeah, well, he did make a cameo, but whatever.
Right.
All right.
Do you want to do?
Yeah, I can do my other story. We'll see how it goes. I have no idea what it is.
Brett with one T.
Yeah. This one. I was like, don't do the same one. How long is this? Okay. We'll see. It happened in the summer, but seemed appropriate for Halloween. This happened a couple years back. After listening and reading stories online and researching a bit, I'm quite certain that I had experienced what I had an experience with was a skinwalker or a wendigo.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. I haven't really told anyone because I didn't think anyone would believe me. And sometimes I want to believe that I just imagined it myself, but the proof says otherwise. I live in Kentucky, but my mother moved to Nevada because, and perhaps this is the biggest punchline of this story, she said she wanted to feel closer to her ancestors. Her grandmother was almost full-blooded Navajo and originated from there. After a bad breakup, I needed to see her, so I took a week off of work and drove out to visit her. Once I got closer to her town, I seemingly made the same mistake of all unsuspected victims. I took back roads to make the trip faster. Though I was driving through a wooded area, I still had a GPS signal, and it said that I was about 4 miles from my destination. My car has sensors in the mirrors that light up and notify me when a car is in my blind spot. I remember very vividly that they began to flicker on the passenger side. I wrote it off as it was detecting the trees, as I was only going about 35 miles per hour, since I didn't know the area that well. It was pitch black, and I could only see what my headlights were reaching, and unfortunately, they were not the brightest to begin with, even with the high beams on. Now, this is something to note for later. I wasn't dealing with this breakup very well. I called him, but only got his voicemail and shouted, Why won't you just talk to me? It was around this time that there was a large thud against my rear passenger side door. I thought to myself, I thought maybe I didn't see a pothole or something. So that nature, what? Or something to that nature while making my call. Considering I may have done damage to my car, I slowed to a stop so I could shine the flashlight on my phone on the back tire. Now, what happened next is a little blurry considering how fast it happened and how scared I was. Before I got out, my side mirror light turned back on and I saw something move from the right side of my car. Immediately, I turned the car back on, but it was too late. My headlights began to reveal a large, hairy creature slowly walking to the front of my car. My first thought was it was a bear, but I was wrong. So very wrong. It began to stand on two hind legs. It must have been at least 6 or 7 feet tall. Its torso was thick with fur, but appeared to be almost human-like arms with big hands or paws or something. But its lower half was very skinny, almost skeletal, with large patches of fur missing. The aura of this thing gave a terrible, terrifying, and pure evil sense. I didn't get a good look at its head, until it put one of its hands on my hood. It had claws, very long claws. Next, it stuck its head forward, revealing a snout, but very human-looking. Dark, if not black eyes. I then realized that it was about to crawl on my hood. Fight or flight finally kicked in, and I quickly put my car in reverse until I was about 20 to 30 feet away from this thing. I could fully see it then, and I swear this thing had hooves on its hind legs. I flung it into drive and drove at it. The road was big enough to avoid hitting the creature, but I managed to sideswipe it on my driver's side. Though it looked out, though it looked on, wait, what? Sorry. So, though it took out one of my headlights, I felt like maybe my back tire hit it. I drove as fast as I could without losing control of the car. After about 2 miles, I merged onto an empty road, and my destination was very close, but I would have given it anything to see another car. I reached my mother's house only about 5 minutes later after the navigating through the neighborhood. I pulled into her driveway and stepped out. Instantly, I could smell something terrible, but I assumed it was sewage. Plus, I wasn't really thinking about that because I instantly ran for her door, shaking and in tears before I knocked, and I heard it. An awful, twisted voice saying, "Why won't you talk to me?" I turned around. Her security light was shining into the yard, and I could see this thing stepping out from behind my car. My mother never once, to my memory, left the door unlocked, so I was certain it had me. The way it was looking at me, I think it knew too. I felt paralyzed so much so that I couldn't even find a voice to scream. Just as I fully emerged, the door behind me opened. The creature dotted into the shrubbery nearby. My knees gave out and I collapsed. I quite literally crawled inside and hugged my mother's legs. I kept telling her, "It's there," while pointing at the door. Just after a few minutes, she, and at this point, my stepfather, were trying to calm me down. After my stepfather got a gun and opened the door, he told me there was nothing there. It was at this point I was able to collect and rationalize my thoughts. Instead of telling them about the bizarre creature I could barely make sense of, I told them that I must have hit a deer or a sick little bear, but when I stopped, a strange man stepped out of the woods and tried to get into my car. They urged me to file a police report after that to get some sleep, but I told them that I didn't even get a good look at him. Honestly, the only thing I wanted to do at this point was to hide under a blanket, and that is exactly what I did. I finally fell asleep after about 2 hours of straining to listen to any weird noises in my mother's spare bedroom. There was only one small window pointed towards the neighbor's house, but I didn't hear anything for the rest of the night. Nothing at all. Maybe my mom had thick walls, but I remember thinking about how much noise the bugs were making in Kentucky in the summer, but it was eerily quiet. Looking at my car the next day with my stepfather, it was revealed that not only was my headlight busted, but the front dent, but there was also a huge claw marks on my trunk. After connecting a few dots, I realized it latched itself on after I hit it, and the marks were a result of it struggling to stay on my car. But I thought, what I thought was my back tire running it over must have been it hopping on. I'm unsure how I possibly could not have seen or heard from. Somehow this huge creature managed to make it to my mother's house undetected. Every bit of rationalization and convincing myself that perhaps I didn't see what I saw that night before it disappeared then. My stepfather must have noticed that I was upset all over again, questioning me about the marks. I didn't answer at first, and he jumped to a different conclusion. We told you those apartments were sketchy when you moved in. Did someone vandalize your car? I suppose if you really didn't look at it for very long, I could remind you of someone just digging a big key into your paint over and over again with like my ex getting revenge on a cheating spouse or something. Either way, I was nauseous, and the revelation, I just nodded because I felt so sick. As the week went by, the days were going okay, but at night I could not sleep at all. Every time I drifted off, I would wake myself up thinking I heard its terrible voice saying, "Why won't you just talk to me?" I did not leave the house without someone else with me, and refused to join a backyard weenie roast by a fire pit because it was already dark. The entire time I was certain it would break through my window and get me. I was supposed to stay 6 days, but after the 4th I couldn't take the paranoia and stress anymore. I was exhausted and jittery, and my mother even began to pull me aside at one point and ask if I had begun using drugs. Early in the morning on the 5th day, I packed up and began my journey home after the sun came up. Of course, there were no back roads this time. My stepfather was nice enough to follow me in his car to the state line, honestly, to make sure my car was doing okay. He even replaced my headlight. I made it home safely, but still think about this every day. I'm still a little worried if it might find me. It's been about 4 years. It didn't help that my coworkers made jokes and asked how my car got into the condition it was in. The one and only good thing about this story is that it helped me get over my breakup pretty quickly. There's nothing like an absolute certainty that if I would have got out of my car, I could have died that night, to put things in perspective. Also, hearing it mocking my pathetic pleas for my ex to talk to me really just twists my stomach when I think about it.
That's messed up.
And that was any kaleidoscope, sorry. Any kaleidoscope 2995. I feel like that was a pretty good story. That was pretty creepy.
Sounds very true.
I don't know. The paranormal is creepy. I mean, do you believe in Bigfoot, sir?
I really don't.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't think so.
Hearing that story, like, if there's actually scratches on a car,
yeah,
that's just proof that you
That's
did
pretty
not
weird.
dream that.
That's
proof.
Well, the thing is that a true story someone wrote, or was that a story someone made up and put on Reddit? Because those happen too.
I know, but that was a lot of details. So I don't know.
Maybe.
But
yeah, Wendigos are creepy. Have you know the stories of the Wendigo?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all about consuming human flesh.
Very creepy.
Yeah, it is very, very, very creepy. And I've heard stories of that before in other places too, where people hear voices in the woods that they should not be hearing. And
back away, walk away, run away.
Nope. If anything like that happened to me in the woods, I'm fucking out of there.
There was this one movie. I think it was on Netflix. Yeah, I forget what it's called, but it was like, shoot, I don't know where they went, but it was like these Australian friends.
Mm-hmm.
It was like these 5 friends, and all of them wanted to go on a hike. It was like a 4-day hike or something. But one guy, not in the best health condition, I guess.
Yeah.
And then it looked like he twisted his foot, but he actually like busted his knee.
Oh.
And the way they was going, there was like a 2-day hike to go to to get to the cabin they were going to get help. Well, they could have went around the mountains to get to the cabin or cut through this woods. And it's not a true story, but it was just like, it was, I don't think you've seen it or you would know exactly what I'm talking about.
I have no idea.
But it was like this huge tree looking moose, something like that.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called.
But you know what I'm talking about? It was like some ritual of those people.
Yeah, and it was supposed to
sacrifice.
be
Like,
yeah. Yes. So I think I know what movie you're talking about. I've watched a video on it, and I think it was something to do with that was like a demigod that was supposed to be one of Loki's kids.
Yep.
Or something weird.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a fucking weird movie.
It was messed
It's creepy.
up.
Did you ever watch, or do you know Midsummer? That movie?
I've heard of it.
Oh, that's fucking weird.
I've never watched it.
It's basically like these group of friends go home with their buddy from Sweden, and they're like, oh yeah, this, like, we do a summer festival every year, blah blah blah. And the thing is that creating this movie, they did do a lot of history on like these areas and in local traditions and stuff. But they go there, they're doing all this stuff, like they're taking mushrooms, they're like tripping balls, doing all this stuff. Very weird. And at one point, like, one of the guys disrespects one of the rituals.
Oh no.
They end up killing him. But one of the weird things they do is that once everybody reaches a certain age, I think it's like 78 or something weird, you kill yourself. You literally jump off a cliff in a ritual, so you don't become a burden on the community. And if you don't die, someone's sitting there with a fucking hammer to smash you. Yeah. And so like that was one of the first things they saw, where it was like, red flag. We just saw 2 people kill themselves.
That's messed up.
And it is very weird. It's like psychological. Basically, one of them survives and kind of like joins the group, and then finally found like happiness. And it's kind of weird, but the rest of them end up either getting killed or used as a part of the rituals and shit. It's creepy. Yeah. It's like, yeah. I don't know about that. I'm good. Mm-mm. Yeah, I kind of want to watch a horror movie now. I don't watch many.
I kind of want to too.
I don't watch many, but they're kind of fun every once in a while.
Do you want my?
Yeah, I think we could do yours. You want to you want to know what movie? Sometimes it's not always horror movies that get me. Like Saw, it's scary, but I feel like the reason why I don't like it is it's psychological and very gory. Like that's what it is, where it's like overly like, oh, this person's having to cut into their skin to do whatever to get this key, like, or some shit. Like, have you ever watched Saw?
Yeah. Yes, I've watched Saw.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you never know.
We
we did watch the original. Oh,
yeah.
we did. I forgot about that. But there's so many. Like, the new one just came out, and it looked good.
I think I've only watched the original. I think that's the only one I watched.
Yeah. They just created, I think it's Saw 10, and technically it's supposed to be a prequel, so technically it's supposed to be between the first and second movie, and people are like, this is actually kind of good. It reminds them of like the old Saw movies, because just like most horror movies, it eventually kind of gets a little ridiculous as the series continues.
Right. That's how everything is.
Like, I mean, did you ever see Jason X? And it's supposed to be in the future, and Jason's on a spaceship, and they accidentally recreate him half biological or half robotic, and it's supposed to be in like 2000 or 3020 something.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think I've heard of it actually.
It's so fucking dumb. It's so dumb.
Huh.
But yeah, like most of those, once they get so far in, they just kind of get ridiculous. Or have you ever seen Jeepers Creepers? Oh, that's a good one. It's where this creature basically comes out of hibernation every 20 years. Similar, I guess, actually kind of similar to It, where it's like it has like a feeding cycle, but the thing is it has to feed on people, and its organ, basically whatever organ it eats from the person, becomes their organ, so they have to consume your organs to survive, or whatever it is, any body part. And yeah, it's creepy. Like, the
That's
first
pretty
one's, like, kind of, it's older. It's like a 90s horror movie, but it's kind of classic, and it's not necessarily super gory. There's not necessarily a bunch of stuff to the movie, but it's one of those where you're, like, checking outside, like, what the fuck? Like,
That's what I did with the one I just talked about.
yeah.
That movie.
Yeah.
The trees.
No,
So-
between that or, like, one movie that honestly I think got my heart rate up way more than I ever expected. I don't totally know why. What is it called? The movie Life, where they find life from Mars and they're on the space station.
Yes, I've heard. I think I've seen it.
It's a thriller / kind of horror. Like, it's similar to, like, you could almost compare it to, like, Alien, where it's like, oh, you're trapped on a spaceship and
You're,
this
like,
alien's
kinda
out and
sci-fi,
about.
kinda.
Yeah. But there was something about that movie where I don't know why, but that thing fucking scared the crap out of me. And I think
Really?
it was because, like, that creature was super smart and strong
True.
and basically indestructible. At least you find out by the end of Alien, like, oh, there's a way to kill it. You can hurt it. This, it's like they don't have a great way to kill it, and the ending's not good. And
yeah, it's kind of creepy.
yeah, and it's just like, I don't know. Like, it fucked me up so bad that for some reason, like, I straight up had, like, a dream about it, and I was like, woke up and I was like, what the fuck was that? I was like, and that doesn't happen to me often, but that was not fun. All right, let's do your big story. It's supposed to be a good one, so I hope it's worth it. It's supposed to be. I guess give us some context before you get into it.
Well, it kind of goes into context.
Oh, okay. So it does explain everything pretty well.
It's like it's a true story. So it's actually these two brothers.
Okay.
One's older, one's younger, of course.
Yep.
I'll just get into it. So there's an almost universal feeling of discomfort and unease that a person experiences when they see a deserted place that their mind tells them should be full of people. A stark feeling of wrongness and creeping dread that is perhaps a holdover from a animalistic ancestors meant to warn us when danger is fast approaching. I think most people are familiar with this sensation, but few know that it has a name. I'm gonna have a problem saying this. Canopsia.
I don't know. Wait, what is it? Canopsia?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that, but
By the way, if you guys want to hear this story, there's actually this whole story on YouTube.
Okay.
It's not a video or anything. It's just him telling it word to word. So if you want to hear somebody else, you can listen to him. I try not to say word to word so I can get through this, but it is defined by the dictionary of obscure sorrows as the airy foreign atmosphere of a place that is usually bustling with people, but is now abandoned and quiet, like a school hallway in the evening long after classes have let out, an unlit office building over the weekend, or store display window after dark. You get the idea. In a way, it could be described as a kind of haunting, but rather than being haunted by some lingering supernatural thing, one who experiences canopsia is haunted by what is not there but should be. I'm gonna. Okay. Yeah, he's saying, I've experienced canopsia on several occasions throughout my short life, but the one that most stands out in my memory is the night my older brother Caleb and I found ourselves in a place called Pompeii, Indiana, after a long night of driving aimlessly down some back roads high on basically drugs. So he was saying that, now I'm sure not people's going to say it's the drugs that's saying all this, but the stuff that he gets into, I don't think there's any kind of drug that can just basically just do this.
Completely make a new reality, practically.
Yeah, basically. So
does it say what they were taking?
No, actually,
Oh,
it says
alright.
it was something about acid, and it said once the acid hits your brain, something wild goes on. So,
That's true. Never done
um,
it, but yes, yeah. I've heard plenty of stories.
okay. So, you would not find Pompeii, Indiana on any map in Google searches of the town's name. At best, you would get the address of a pizza place in Lake County. Now, that is freaky. Because I actually looked it up.
And it was that pizza place.
It's just that pizza place
Mm.
and nothing else. Like, there's some place in Gary, Indiana, but it's not the same place because that's not where they were.
Yeah.
Um,
Spooky. You want to go
okay,
find it?
believe me, I've tried. Blah, blah, blah.
Does-
Okay. My attempts to retrace the journey my brother and I took, and to pin down the exact location of the town I very nearly lost my life in, have so far proven to be fertile. The most I can tell you is that it should be located somewhere about 2.5 hours south of Indianapolis. As far as I can tell, when you are tripping on acid, it's hard to keep track of landmarks and road signs amidst of the backdrop of ever-shifting hallucinations and sensations that demand your attention for hours at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, in hindsight, it's a miracle that we didn't crash the car. I'd say we were lucky, but knowing where we ended up, that would be a lie. It all started at our parents' house in Brownsburg, Indiana, around midnight. Our folks had just left for an out-of-state vacation that Caleb and I declined to accompany them with, on somewhat plausible excuse that neither of us could take the time off work and that it would be required to accompany them. In reality, he and I have been planning to embrace the opportunity that there was their aptness to have a drug-fueled night of excitement ever since we had learned that they were going on vacation some months prior. So they strategized.
Yeah, they planned for a fun night. Sounds like.
Basically, we're just saying as soon as the parents left, that's when it happened. So okay.
Brownsburg. You want to go find this place?
I do, but once you hear this, you don't.
Okay. All right.
I actually think it is a real place.
That wouldn't surprise me.
But he then wasted no time placing the wad on the kitchen counter and unwrapping it with care, revealing what looked like nearly cut little paper squares that were small enough to fit on the tip of your finger. I, being the younger of the two of us, and at the time inexperienced in the world of controlled substances, felt a mixture of nervousness as Caleb instructed me to take one of the paper squares from the foil and place it on top of my tongue, only to be very underwhelmed by the lack of changes in my perceptions at the first couple of minutes.
Yeah.
I don't feel like anything, Caleb. Are you sure this guy didn't sell you bullshit? He says. I had asked him with concern and impatience seeping into my voice. Caleb chucked, as if I said something extremely childish, before reassuring me. Give it time. The chemicals take a while to reach the brain. How will I know if it's working? Trust me. You'll know. I took his word, and we spent nearly 45 minutes just watching TV and just hanging out. And then, and waiting for the acid to work its magic. When I made the suggestion that I would regret the rest of my natural life. I'm hungry, man. Why don't we go down the street real quick and grab something to eat before we both too high to function? Caleb being the only one out of the two of us with a license in a car scratched his head as if it weighed the pros and cons of the idea before he conceded with a shrug.
I mean, I would weigh the pros and cons if you just dropped acid.
Sure.
And you're like,
Sure. As long as we just down the street and back, we should be okay.
Oh no.
My vision was starting to vibrate at this point. And any notion of how dangerous it's just
Start
it's
vibrating.
insane. So,
Okay.
how dangerous getting into a car in a state we were in was chased away by any marvelous visions that had begun dancing before my eyes. After a few minutes of fumbling around through the vastly developed wonderland that is forming around us, for our coats, shoes, and Caleb's keys, both of us somewhat clumsily enough, climbed into Caleb's Silverado, pulled out of the driveway, and proceeded down the street towards the string of local fast food places. It's worth mentioning at this point of that Caleb had a terrible sense of direction. One and I, and practically everybody that knew him, teased him, so they teased him relentlessly about this. He would often get lost driving to the houses of the friends that lived just a few blocks over. This, coupled with the fact that we both of us were now tripling balls on acid, it should come as no surprise that Caleb somehow managed to completely pass the fast food joints and steer us onto the highway.
Yep.
We were both so far gone that we must have driven for a good 20 minutes before neither of us realized that we were lost. Once we did, we were basically the blind leading the blind, both of us arguing back and forth which turn to make and which exit to use. When neither of us really had any idea of where the hell we were going, it wasn't all bad, to tell the truth. In some ways, it was a lot of fun. Our short trip to get fast food had become an all-out adventure. Through the open fields and winding country roads of our little slice of Midwest, we laughed, joked, argued, and debated with one another about all manner of things, while we looked in awe at the sights and sensations that the drug we had both taken was producing for us. Eventually, though, as it became clear to us both that we were 1 minute, I lost track.
You got this. Don't take acid and drive.
No, don't.
Not a good idea.
Just listen to the story and you'll see why.
I'm ready. My eyes are closed.
Just imagine this.
Okay.
We agreed that it would be best to stop somewhere and get our bearings, maybe even get a hotel for the night, till we were clear-minded enough to find our way back home. Even though the prospect of trying to have a normal social interaction with anyone, given how high we both were, seemed like a terrible task. That was when I first noticed the ashes that fell from the otherwise clear summer sky like snow. I had dismissed it as just another hallucination at first. Gradually, though, as it started to collect on the windshield and obstruct our vision to the point where Caleb had to turn on his windshield wipers so we could drive safely, I realized it was real. I turned to Caleb for verification of this, on the off chance that I was just hallucination. Hey man, do you see that? Yeah man, it's really weird. Yeah, totally weird. After driving another few miles down the road through the strangest weather phenomenon either of us had ever experienced, we saw a large weathered old sign in the distance that was all faded paint. That was all faded paint and writing word that read, "Welcome back to Pompeii, Indiana," in bold letters, overlooking what seemed to be a decent-sized town, completed with a motel, a gas station, a town hall, a diner, a school, and a few rows of old-looking houses here and there. And what from that distance looked like an old school drive-in movie theater, all covered in slowly growing blanket of ashes. It wasn't exactly inviting, thank you.
Got you.
But any port would do in a storm, as the saying goes, so we decided to check it out. If a town could ever be accurately compared to recently hollowed out corpse, then Pompeii would definitely be the perfect candidate for that comparison. Everywhere we looked, we were confronted by a complete and utter lack of noticeable signs of human life, or any life at all, for that matter. Despite the fact that it was in contrast in the weathered old sign that had welcomed us in, nothing we saw looked particularly old or dilapidated at all. In fact, some of the machines and appliances left scattered around uh, scattered around apparently abandoned buildings showed clear signs of recent use. We stopped at the gas station first to fill up and grab some snacks since neither of us had eaten anything since our little faded journey had begun. And what we saw once we passed through the open glass double doors and made our way inside was equal parts confusing and unsettling. Directly in front of us was a row of about 6 or so commercial coffee pots that were all still had steam rising from the tops, as if freshly brewed. Off to the left was the checkout counter with a register drawer stood open and a pack of cigarettes lay on its side next to it, as if whoever had been working the counter had just set them down in the middle of the ringing them up and just left without even bothering to close the drawer. Okay. The air pump out in the parking lot was running, although there was no cars anywhere in sight, and since those machines generally tend to run for only about few minutes at most after someone puts enough quarters in it, logically speaking, someone had to leave, turned it on in the few minutes. Wait, what? Had to have turned it on for the last few minutes. Dude, this ads keeps popping up. But there was no visual signs of anyone. But I could see that I could see, nor were the people who have lived there had gone. No tracks in the ash that blanketed the ground, no hastily handwritten notes saying out to lunch, or offering any kind of explanation to where the fuck everyone went. That makes no sense. Was anywhere to be seen, just deafening silence and a profound feeling of isolation. Basically, they go to the diner, and there's like just food, like warm food, like plates on the tables. It's all warm, so they made the way, ate some food, but yeah, nobody in sight. I'm just gonna skip that part. At this point in our journey, the hallucination effects of the acid we had taken was beginning to work against Caleb and I. Our feelings of carefree foolishness had morphed into unease and steadily growing phenomena.
Paranoia.
Yeah, whoa. And the acid only amplified that. Everywhere I looked, I saw shadows moving in my vision. But whenever I turned to confront them, they would just be gone. I could feel myself sweat on my forehead, and a cold, tingling feeling start to crawl up the small of my back. Caleb wasn't doing much better. Basically, the drugs were getting to him. Basically, what was happening. So then they got back to the truck, and they had an argument. He was just like, "Calm down, you're tripping. Everything's fine. Everything's fine." They were saying that to themselves to keep them cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then Caleb's like, "Well, where is everyone?" Whoa. What happened? Ah.
What'd you do?
Nothing. It just went down. Dude. Ah.
Did you lose it?
Hopefully not.
Oh no, Riley.
No, it just like skipped half the part.
Oh.
Okay, I found it. Caleb had yelled into transparent frustration, now looking only vaguely recognizable as himself to my eyes. I must have been gawking at him with wide-eyed terror because he stopped pacing for a minute to see what was up with me. Hey, you okay? Do I have something on my face? No, you're fine. I'm just really fucking high, and I don't want to be here. Well, neither do I, Caleb said. Like, screw this, man. Let's just get the hell out of here. Literally anywhere would be better than here. Agreed. And I hopped back in the truck and gunned down the road, back towards the highway, maintaining a very tense silence between the two of us. As we went, neither of us could really put it into words at that time, but we felt in our bones that something was very off about this place. The ashes that fell from the sky had ceased gently, falling like snow, and now whirled around. The truck like the winds of the blizzard, devouring the highway in front of us, and even after Caleb had turned his brights on, we could only see maybe a few feet in front of us. So we didn't care. We just wanted to get out of that place as fast as we could. We didn't make turns, and we sure as shit didn't turn around. I'm sure of it. And yet, about 15 minutes or so of gunning down the highway as fast as we could, we were once again face to face with a discreet, rotting old sign that read, "Welcome back to Pompeii, Indiana." Without skipping a beat, Caleb whipped the truck around and took off in the opposite direction, only to have the same thing happen again, and another time after that. After we found ourselves in front of that sign for the 5th time, I remember pounding my fist into the dash of frustration before I turned and started screaming at my brother. What the fuck is wrong with you? You have one job, Caleb, and that's to get the fuck out of here. Why is that so fucking hard? Caleb didn't respond to me right away. He just sat there staring at the eroded, ancient-looking sign with an expression of pure weirdness. What? Whoa. They misspelled that.
You said beardedness?
No, pure. They misspelled the word. I don't even know what it says.
Oh, okay.
Never mind. His face looked relatively normal to me now, which made no sense given that he told me that the acid we took usually lasts about 9 hours on average, and there was simply no way that 9 hours had passed already. I don't know, Caleb said. It was almost impossible to make out what was... Oh, shoot. That was when I noticed a drive-in movie theater in the distance. Or more especially, there seemed to be a movie playing on the towering projection screen. It was almost impossible to make out what was playing from that distance, but the sight filled me with desperate kind of hope regardless. So the younger brother says, "There's a movie playing down there." Caleb says, "So? What do you mean, so? If there's a movie playing, then there has to be some people down there. We can't be sure of that. Well, do you have any better ideas?" I'll tell you what we should do. We should stay the fuck away from that town. It's beyond creepy. And do what? Sit here forever? There could be someone down there who could help us. I don't like this, brother. I don't like this at all. He then puts the truck back to drive and reluctantly took us down back through the deserted streets of Pompeii towards the theater. And since I can say that with confidence that I was extremely total clear-minded at this point, I noticed small details here and there that I had totally overlooked before. We passed by an empty church building, for instance. I saw a rather ominous message scrawled on the sidewalk that just outside the main entrance that read, "Here we are deceived." Here we were deceived. The more I looked around, the more I found similar messages had been scrawled along the entranceways and sidewalks in several places. All around town, one such message One such message along the sidewalk that bordered the diner read, "Here, we went unnourished." Yet another that I saw written outside the town hall said, "Here, we were betrayed." But the message that was easily the most unsettling out of all of the ones that I saw was the one scrawled over the faded sign over the entrance to the drive-in itself that read, "Here, we bore witness."
Okay.
The gate itself hung open and offered an unobstructed path into the theater, which seemed to consist of a large open parking area that, unlike virtually anywhere else in the town, was packed with cars from end to end, and what looked like for some sort of concession stand located roughly at its center, we could see a dim silver light at the projector as it filled the enormous screen at the northernmost end of the drive-in with what looked like an old-fashioned black and white movie that hadn't seemed to have progressed past its opening credits. Names of actors and companies I had never heard of. Scrolling slowly down the length of the screen before the movie opened to a scene of an idyllic-looking Midwestern town overlooked by a starry night sky that in some ways resembled the one we now found ourselves in. Before I could turn to Caleb and discuss what we should have done, the screeching static of the Silverado's radio pierced the silence and prevailed between the two of us before it merged into what we assumed was the audio that accompanied the movie. At first, it was the really corny sounding jiggle, the likes of which you expect to see in old commercial, then abruptly became a loud crashing sound as one of the stars that graced the beautiful sky on the screen fell to earth below and made a large crater in the woods just outside the town. The scene that shifted to a young boy who looked to be around high school age, walking through the same words along in the daytime. He wandered around aimlessly until he happened upon the crater, which had by then filled up to the edges with a strange, vicious black liquid. The boy then sat along the edge of the pool, regarding its curiosity, as if debating with himself about whether or not he wanted to touch it, when a stream of bubbles rose up to the pool's center and started to pop one after the other, and each pop bubble carried with a word from a voice that sounded remarkably human, almost like it was almost like that of a young girl. "Hello? Who are you?" the voice asked. Each syllable sounded strained and unnatural, as if whatever was making them had not quite yet mastered human speech. The boy then said, "Hello? I'm Ronnie," he said. "Ronnie?" the voice echoed. "Who are you?" Ronnie says. "I am lost." "Lost?" the boy named Ronnie repeated, sounding confused. "Lost. I am lost. I want to go home." "Can I help?" Ronnie said. "Small. I'm too small. I must grow." "You must grow," Ronnie repeated. His face suddenly became vacant and expressionless. He then turned around and walked in the opposite direction back towards the town, repeating, "She must grow." The scene then changed again, this time showing Ronnie with yet another boy whose expression the same age walking through the same woods towards the pool. "It's just this way," Ronnie said, his voice distant and unnatural, which did not seem to be the lost on the other boy. "Sure, Ronnie, whatever you say. Are you feeling okay? You sound weird." I'm fine. We're almost there. The boy did not seem reassured, but went along regardless. When the pair finally came up to the pool once again, Ronnie gestured to it with a veneration. The other boy seemed to think that it was mesmerizing. He knelt by the edge and watched the bubbly black liquid with a wide-eyed fascination while Ronnie slowly maneuvered behind him. This is so cool, Ronnie. What is it? The boy was barely able to utter the word "it" before Ronnie pushed him in with all the force he could muster, and upon making physical contact with the liquid, the boy let out a heartbreaking scream. Oily black liquid reached up from the depths of the pool and constricted around him like like pythons. You could hear the sickening sound of his bones snapping as the tendons began pulling him down slowly but surely. He thrashed around and cried out desperately for his friend to help him, but Ronnie remained still and just watched the horror unfold in front of him with that same vacant look in his eyes. She must grow, he said. Eventually, Ronnie lured hapless victims to the unnatural. I can't talk. Ronnie lured just careless victims and pushed them in the liquid. So he did that over and over, and the liquid began to grow and grow and grow. Before long, the pool had become a large pond, and not long after that, a small lake. As it grew, it devoured the plants of the plant life it came in contact with. Trees and other vegetation that were unfortunate enough to be in its path withered and died almost before my eyes, as I watched that horrible black ooze creep over closer to the town itself. Though it was never explicitly stated by any of the characters, I got the distant expression after the pool had expanded past a certain point of the entity the entity no longer needed to rely on Ronnie for substance. Before long, others started luring people into it. A pastor did. A bus driver did. The film reached its climax when open conflict broke out between a group of townspeople who seemed to have retained their minds and those that had fallen under the sway of the voice from the pool. The conflict that had been short and bloody, and although the townspeople had fought like animals, they were actually subdued and quarreled like livestock by their possessed neighbors. I have the words to describe the cold and detached depravity I witnessed on that screen. I have never considered myself a squeamish type, and I've seen a lot of documentaries about things that, I probably shouldn't say stuff like that, but never mind. I'm just gonna skip the part.
Okay.
They're just saying he wasn't unfamiliar with gruesome, so he wasn't really squeamish.
Okay.
But he was saying, what he saw on that screen was not like those events at all. It's way dark and way gloomy, I guess. He just they keep talking about the movie. Like in one instance, he saw a large man break the legs of a woman who could have easily been in her 80s before he hoisted her over the shoulders and carried it off to the blackness of the pond. So even the elderly were getting pushed in, and children were getting pushed in. So just very dark. Um, the dark liquid of the pool fell from his eyelids and ran down his cheek. So they're talking about. Oh, they're talking about Ronnie. Yeah. Ronnie emerged from the depths of the ooze and walked out into the land looking simultaneously younger and also ageless. The dark liquid of the pool fell from his eyelids and ran down his cheeks like teardrops, and a chillingly warm smile stretched across his freckled face. He spoke to the terrified little ones in a voice that was his own, and at the same time not. "Hello, are you lost? Do you want to go home?" he asked. Common sense dictated that he was speaking to the children on the screen, but the angle of the camera made it seem like he was speaking to me directly, and that made my blood run cold. The children's response to his question came in the form of cries and whines. "Don't be afraid, little ones. We will all go home soon. Look how she has grown," he said as he turned to the ooze-filled crater with his arm outstretched as that thing slowly rose out from the pit. Basically talk. Okay. Here we go. Through Ronnie, I heard it speak each and every one of its blasphemous names, each more terrible than the last. I heard it speak of its home and the black void beyond the stars, where all light goes to death, of the utter apathy of God, and the complete meaninglessness of my own existence. At that point, I lost conscious awareness that I was just watching a movie, and I heard myself scream. Panic set in, and I clawed frantically in the truck's door only to find that Caleb had locked it. In the same instant that I realized this, I felt his hand on my shoulder, and I whipped around to see a serene, peaceful look on his face, and the black tears fell down his cheeks. It's all right, brother. We are lost no more. It's time to go home," he said in that voice that was not his own. As he wrapped his hands around my neck, I struggled against his grip, but could not break free. Through the haziness of the oxygen-deprived rain, I could see Caleb's skin begin to bubble and blister as if it has been exposed to the unimaginable high temperature before I saw my brother erupt into blue flames, all while keeping the same serene expression on his face as it began to burn away. Out of sheer strength brought on by mortal terror, I threw him off me, busted the passenger window with my elbow, and scrambled out and away from the Silverado. Just as the entire thing bursted into flames, I then looked on in horror as my brother burned away into nothingness, so that not even a body remained, just a burned-out husk of a vehicle and an empty feeling of despair. The unnatural storm of ashes that had dogged us throughout his little fade journey has whipped around to be unbelievable speeds at this point, pelted my skin, and stinging my eyes through. I hardly noticed it. In truth, I felt that I was going to die, and I was okay with it. I didn't want to be in that awful place anymore. I laid on the cold asphalt and gravel waiting for my death's embrace, only to find myself in an unfamiliar hospital bed. When I next opened my eyes, over the next several days, I would learn that I had been found unconscious on the side of a highway by a passing trucker who had called the police, and they took me to the hospital. So, yeah, he woke up in a hospital. His parents asked, the most important question, where's his brother? And he had no answers. Nobody believed him. And, no.
Well, I don't think that's a true story.
I don't know, dude. At the very end, he says, "There is no happy ending to my story, only a plea that you cherish those who you love, because you would never know when they will be gone from the world forever, and warning that if you ever find yourself in Pompeii, Indiana, for the love of God, stay away from the theater. Stay away from the late night creature feature.
I like it.
Kind of creepy, isn't it?
Yeah, just a bit. I mean, it reminded me of the Blob.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's. That was.
I don't know. I know he gave real places of Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, 2.5 hours south of Indianapolis. I mean, that puts you basically anywhere. But
yeah, but someone could write a story.
Right. I'm just saying. I mean, what they say.
That's fucking weird. Yeah, I didn't like that one.
Yeah, like a detective came, and he just, he told the detective all he knew. But, of course, nobody's going to believe him. And just word got around that he killed his own brother.
I would have to do some digging on that one.
Over drugs, because the parents found the drugs.
Yeah. Well, probably they left it on the counter. Don't take acid, kids.
And do not drive while...
Don't drive while under the
being
influence of anything.
I don't know if it's real. But, dude, I did look up for Pompeii, Indiana, and I did not find anything. I could not find anything. I did find the pizza place, which is kind of creepy. I found the place in Gary, Indiana, but maybe that was where the pizza place was. I don't know exactly. But it's creepy.
Yeah.
It could be a place. It's Indiana.
I hope not. We don't have places where ash is typically falling out of the sky.
Which is weird, because actually Pompeii, what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the volcano.
Yeah. With ashes falling down.
That's weird.
It's just...
At first I was like, this could be something when it comes to, some people say, almost parallel universes in a way. There's been stories of people where they've been just, apparently it's very common in a certain town in, is it Lancaster, England? Where, some people will be walking down a street, come around a corner, and the next thing they know, for some reason, everything they see is just very off, and they see people wearing old clothing and all this shit, and then they keep going, and they get really fucking confused because nothing looks the same, and the businesses are different, and then a couple minutes later they keep walking, and then they come around another corner and everything's back to normal, and it's it was almost like a void in time,
just like your mind playing with you.
Yeah,
that's weird.
And shit, where it's for that split second, it's they walked into another dimension and it was 1940 again, or some shit, and stuff. It's what do they call it? It's a time something. But yeah, where it's just I don't know. That's creepy.
That story because it's that YouTube video, and it's just hearing the voice behind it. It could be a place. I really hope it's not. I don't want to believe it.
No, I'm good.
But do you want to go there now?
No, I'm good. I'll go to an abandoned hospital or something, but I don't want to go there.
I feel like if I want to see freaking Pompeii, Indiana, at some ghost town.
No, I'm good. Nope. I'll stay home.
No.
I'm all right. I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think Riley's finally creeped us out enough, but I think that's probably what we're gonna call it for this week's episode. Hopefully you guys were a little creeped out or scared. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. Tell your friends to listen. Why not?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like we said at the start, be sure to go ahead and watch the live stream here this Friday. Also, I know this is at the end of the podcast, so this is a terrible time for me to necessarily promote this. Technically, should be live tonight. I'm going to finish it here soon, but I want to do another charity fundraiser for charity water. If you guys have been subscribed for a while, I talked about it last year. I was able to raise about $1,000 in the month of November. I'm gonna do it similarly, but I think I'm actually gonna extend it to till Christmas, and basically go from November 1st to Christmas Day, and see how much money we can raise. I would love to hit $2,000. I think that's gonna be my goal, considering I was able to do 1,000 last year with a little bit of an extended time and everything. Hopefully we can hit $2,000 and be able to provide
It's for a good
clean
cause,
water
too.
for people.
Yep.
It's awesome. I mean, I've donated to them myself for 3 years now. So I mean,
Good for you.
it's a great cause.
Yep.
So hopefully we can hit that goal. But I hope you guys did enjoy some
Make sure to
spooky,
share this around.
creepy areas, creepy stories.
Yes.
And I guess we'll see you guys Friday during the live stream. If
Yes.
not, we'll see you next week. Peace out, everybody.